fields of or frequencies, it makes itself known to us.
Someone, and we're identifying different energies in the body, and I'm certified in chakras, and I can actually read them.
Posture makes a difference because there's meaning making. Are they full on to each other? Are they off to each other? Are they back to each other? Are they walking right alongside each other? Each aspect of that will have different meaning making that comes out of that.
If it's not ours, it's in us because it's come up to heal, and we're
Mm-hmm.
the ones, like, we're the healer, we're the cycle breaker.
Horses that I find to be so powerful is I invite them to start tuning into the herd before they even come here to the sanctuary, because energetically nothing can keep you from that connection. It just is.
I find that stepping into energy work is really often inspired by wanting a deeper connection with Mother Earth, Gaia, with the living, breathing energy spirits that we as humans maybe can't see or touch. Hi, welcome back to Women Making Moves, where we celebrate the moves that women are making. My name is Amy Pons, founder of Unlock the Magic Coaching and Healing. I'm joined today with Gloria Lybecker.
Yeah.
Gloria Lybecker is a seasoned transformational facilitator and the founder of Healing You Sanctuary, a heart-centered practice dedicated to empowering women through trauma-informed leadership. Relational neuroscience, and embodied healing. Drawing from over 25 years of experience, Gloria uniquely blends somatic empathy, resonance communication, and equine facilitated constellation work, guiding women to heal generational patterns and reclaim their authentic voice. Gloria, welcome.
Thank you so much, Amy. I'm really excited to be here with you today.
So, oh my gosh, something that I learned later in my life,
Yeah.
like at 40, was that I actually am carrying everything from my lineage in my second chakra and other places. That we, that our eggs were in our grandmother or great
Oh,
grandmother.
right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so one of the questions I get a lot as a healer is, how do I know if this is my energy or not my energy, like from the lineage? And that's always a good place to start. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's where I would really invite a real somatic experience. And I'd love to do it in relationship with my herd of horses, or at least a horse or two, and do a constellation around that and see what would emerge. Because in my experience, our answers, they reside from within us. And when we're able to differentiate yet link energetically with the different fields of or frequencies, it makes itself known to us. And so I would accompany someone on that journey and be able to offer observations or recognizing patterns as I accompany them. And it's for each person to really recognize their own truth. What
So
about you?
well, okay, there, right, absolutely. Um, for me, when I'm working with someone and we're identifying different energies in the body, and I'm certified in chakras and I can actually read them,
Okay.
um, I will typically go through with someone, where is your truth center? Like your particular soul truth center. And I find on average, it's anywhere from heart to solar plexus to sacral. It really depends on which one per individual. And there's ways to find out if you're not sure, but we do it by feeling into it. And so,
Mm-hmm.
for instance, if something is coming in and you're feeling a feeling and you're like, where did this come from? We go into your truth center and ask, is this mine?
Okay.
And if it's not, that would tell me that it's something from the lineage or something from the lived experience, the learned experience from our environment or those around us. And that's where we get to start meeting ourselves where we are, saying, okay, I feel this, so this is mine now. Do I
Mm-hmm.
want this? Is this in alignment with my favorite self? And if it's not, we start to unearth, it doesn't matter whose it is necessarily,
Yeah.
in my opinion. It's just that if it's not yours, then it's something that we can start to release or put down, as I like to say. And that just takes practice and work for you showing up through your responses to
Mhm.
external goings on. If you're responding or reacting in a way that doesn't feel like your highest vibration,
Mhm.
that's when you get to start discerning that
Yeah.
you want to respond differently. And
Mhm.
as you do to respond differently and get different results, your energy starts to learn, your energy field starts to understand, oh, right, that wasn't mine. That's not mine. And that practice ongoing starts to help you understand more real time. Is this mine? Is this not mine?
Yeah.
Because a
Yeah.
lot of times if it's not ours, it's in us because it's come up to heal. And we're
Mhm.
the ones, like we're the healer, we're the cycle breakers. So if you're a cycle breaker, probably a lot of energy is not yours, but you are healing on behalf of those that are not able to heal on this plane.
Yeah. I have a process very similar to what I'm hearing you share, and I call it sacred circles, where because when you can define a circle, you're actually making a definition of something, yes? And so stepping into that circle and claiming that circle as, oh, I'm feeling something. What is this that's coming up? I, if someone draws a circle and they step in to see what this energy is, and then they tune into that, and they can then identify what's obvious to them as they step into that. So that's a different way I've seen different constellation facilitators use. So they might just use a mat to represent something. So it's a representation of the energy. And when you step in, you begin to know it, to recognize it. And again, recognizing where this even originates from, that identity, and recognizing, is this mine? Is this not mine? Well, this is an imprint upon me. It's a shadow. And being able to name that really is empowering. And then
Mhm.
stepping out of that as well, it's like a way to dissolve that is then to step into your truth circle. Step into who you came here to be, into what you love. And when you step into that, then fully embody that. Actually notice what happens in your whole body as you step into that representation of your highest and best self, however you frame that up, and then
Yeah.
recognize that. And then I like to invite them to look from this circle to look over at the other circle and recognize, what did they do different? I mean, what is the action that they took between those different felt lived experiences? And that becomes the wisdom that comes up from within. And then that's an action that they can take that comes from within.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They when there is an internal battle going on, it's
Mm.
likely that it's 111 here. It's it's May 111.
It's 11:11 here.
We're such validation, grace, and synchronicity. That's amazing. Um, when there's an internal battle going on, it's likely that you want to respond a certain way, but there's like this overpowering energy inside you, whether it's coming from your head, heart, otherwise, anywhere, anything in your energy field, and it causes you to respond differently, and you're like, "Ugh,
Mm.
what the heck?" So a lot of times what this comes up in my business and whom I serve, a lot of times it's like I want to follow my soul path, but and
Mm.
everything I've learned so far is that I have to follow the tried and true mainstream. And
Ah.
so and that causes conflict inside. So we try to we bridge that together and see where there's threads to pull without completely uprooting everything that you've always known. Because
Mm.
if you uproot everything all at once, it can be another trauma. Um,
Exactly.
so what is constellation work?
Well, constellation work is really powerful work, and many practitioners use it in relationship with other people. So they'll gather people together, and the people will step into what's designated as the field, very similar to the circle work that I was mentioning. So there's a field that represents the person's life. And the person is called a seeker, and it's what is the question that they're seeking. And then the facilitator has a conversation with them to, I call it resourcing. So I do a very somatic body approach of what, like you were saying, what is the sensation? What is the emotion? What's coming up? And having the body speak to the person. So the style that I use is I facilitate the constellations with my herd of horses. And so the picadero or the square space that's there, that represents the person's life. And then the person that's seeking an answer, then they will start with their back to the gate. And we go through a somatic experience of resourcing from the body to see what is coming up, what's alive for them, and what is that meaning, and what are they seeking. Then they will turn and they will face, and with eyes open and focusing upon the horses, they will again do the body resourcing, and they're accessing more aspects of themselves by looking and feeling and naming what's going on for them. And the horses begin to tune in, even with their back to them, and they begin to make movements. And um, when the person's observing them, they make the associations of what the horses are representing from what they're seeking. So it could be somebody stepping in and they had a really traumatic experience in their past and their family was involved in it. There was one where they were in a war and it was very traumatic what happened, and the horses took on the representations of the different family members, and there was some really big breakthroughs for this person of recognizing patterns and recognizing their experience and what their truth was and their answer as they moved through it. And or it could be somebody that has a workplace experience and they're looking for what is their truth in that experience with these other people, and to be able to begin to see things they couldn't see before. So it brings what was unconscious conscious, and being able to tune in using your somatics and your truth to recognize them.
So when you say constellation work, are you literally talking about like Orion, like the actual constellations?
No, I mean, the constellation, when you look at it, the constellations, all these different stars represent the whole.
Right.
And so it can go, the constellations can actually go back generations. And I've had that experience happen as well. And the horse will take on that representation. Oh, this is me. Here's my mom. There's my grandma. And there's the great grandmother, and seeing where that's going. So the constellation means that each aspect is being represented in this whole picture of this person's life experience.
Okay, because that's what I would have assumed, because I've never heard of constellation work. So I would have
Oh,
thought that there's some sort of connection to like the actual constellations.
yeah, it's called Family Constellations.
Okay.
So is the way it was founded, and I follow a lot of what Sarah Payton. I don't know if you're familiar with her at all, but she also did studies on that, and there's just it's profound work. It's really being able to slow things down and then bringing that representation of that in and tuning into the energies of that into, and when how does the body move? What are the expressions? Um, and when you step into that field, you really do tune into what's alive right there.
So can constellation work be done without animals?
Oh, yes, you can use objects. I don't have them handy here. I can show. You could use different objects. So this could represent something. This could represent something, it's just, so it's an object that could represent it. And so that some people will use mats. And because if you can move your body, that can be very helpful as well. So you can put different colored mats or different shaped mats down and they can represent different aspects. Many times I would have the person hold the mat and then they look at the space and they see where does it get placed, because there's something that's going to reveal itself out of that too. So with constant, how, if it is representing people, how are the people, how are their bodies posturing? Body posture makes a difference because there's meaning making. Are they full on to each other? Are they off to each other? Are they back to each other? Are they walking right alongside each other? Each aspect of that will have different meaning making that comes out of that with
And
nonverbal communication.
Yeah. You like to do it with your horses. Could you work with any animal?
Well, I would imagine that it would be true. The horses, they are prey animals. So they are going to respond different than like a dog would because a dog is a prey animal. So I'm not saying that that's not possible, but the prey animal, they have a different sensitivity and a different even perception of nature. And there's been a lot of studies done with equines that um, show the relationality of them and how they are the herd dynamics. And there's so much that you can glean from that. So,
So where did constellation work? So it's energy work, of course, right?
yeah.
And what if someone doesn't know where to put their mat?
Oh, well, then it's just they can't get it wrong,
Mm,
right? They truly can't get it wrong. It's really about stepping in and allowing yourself to have the experience, just putting it down. And now what happens? It's like, it's not about judging it and trying to get it right. And if someone's like, I don't know, okay, now what? It's a gentle process of staying with them in the not knowing. I mean, that's something that's come up in different constellations is how somebody wants to know. And when you can slow down enough to be in the not knowing and now notice that, there's something there for the individual.
I think what's the hardest sometimes in energy work is that when you feel something, you as humans, you like immediately want to know what it means.
Yeah,
And so, that's just kind of how we have been. That's how we roll.
yeah.
And it's just kind of sometimes it's like sitting still, and it's not fun necessarily, but it's just kind of, in my experience, it's just if I'm not able to connect something right away, I try not to force it because that brings me into like a whole new shift. So,
Yeah, there's no the work that I do, there's no force. There's accompaniment with what is
mhm.
and developing the practice of allowing what is and sitting with what is without a time frame on it. It's slowing down time to allow it to expand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do folks typically find constellation work?
Well, there's a lot of different people that will practice this. They can look up systemic constellations, family constellations. Um, I don't know as many people that do constellations with horses, though there
Mm,
are. And just as any practitioner in any field, each practitioner or each facilitator will have their own style that they've developed.
okay.
So I encourage people to really look into that and have maybe a conversation to find out what their focus is and what they what it represents to them. What is their purpose or their intention of offering the service.
Cool.
And mine are, it's a very sacred journey, and it goes as deep as the person is interested in going. And the work with the horses that I find to be so powerful is I invite them to start tuning into the herd before they even come here to the sanctuary, because energetically nothing can keep you from that connection. That it just is. And to begin and to recognize what do they notice, if anything, because again, you don't have to notice anything, but you might. So
Mm,
it's being in that field of the unknown again and inviting there to be an openness and a curiosity and an interest in that. And even starting to connect there. And after the constellation, I have some people say, oh, they still have that heart connection with that herd. And they're like,
mhm.
oh, I'm part of the healing herd now. There's a sense of belonging and connection and mattering that just naturally arises in relationship and with nature. It's not just the horses that represent, it's the wind, it's all of the elements.
I was going to say, I would imagine that you would have to have some sort of, not that energy work, I always say, listen, there are no prerequisites to, but also there tends to be a need for openness. to understand or understand that every creature, everything is living, breathing creature soul. Nature is the ultimate playbook. And so I find that it's easier to step into energy work. Now it's 1, 2, 3. Um, and now you're 1, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
I find that stepping into energy work is really often inspired by wanting a deeper connection with Mother Earth, Gaia, with
Mm.
the living, breathing energy spirits that we as humans maybe can't see or touch, but also we remember that we're a divine being having a human experience, not the other way around. So I find that like there's an openness, and it does help to have a connection to, and the reason I say that is because, to your point, if you ask someone who's not necessarily in tune with nature and you ask them to start connecting with the horses before they get to the sanctuary, they'd be like, what? They might
Mm.
not be able to, like, one, tune in, or two, trust what does drop in, if anything does drop in. So do you find like it's not a prerequisite, but it's the ability to tune in?
Well, when I work with anybody, I'm going to have a conversation ahead of time in order to hear from them, for them to make their own best decision about which of the different services that I offer is going to really align with what they're seeking. And when they are seeking to come with the horse, sometimes they are scared to death of horses and they don't really want to go into any space with the horse. And you can do a whole constellation outside of the picadero. You don't have to go inside. The energy still is the energy, and it's available, but people they give consent for their experience. So it's an offering, it's a gentle, curious. There's a opportunity that you could in practice if you are interested in. Would you like to hear about it? So consent, is this an area that you would like to explore? And then also prefacing it in a way, setting the container as, well, right before you go to sleep, if you're open to it, I invite you to take a moment and just think about that you're coming here and that there's a herd of horses on this land, and just notice what that's like. So it's a noticing. Might just be blank. That's okay. It's whatever it is. And then just notice what you notice. And so when people begin to practice a practice of noticing what they notice, I remember when I first started that, I got so excited. I noticed that I noticed that I noticed. I mean, it just is replicating. I mean, it's like it's your awareness is growing. You're like a flower that's opening. Open circuits are open to receiving new information. Closed circuits think they know everything already.
And you bring up land. I think we talked about this in our intro, uh, the first time we met.
Yeah.
Whose land? Which which land or territory are you on?
Oh, well, I'm on the land. There's Native American land.
Yes.
Yes, in the area. I don't know that I'm sure that in history that this was their land, because there's several different tribes in this area, in the Spokane area.
Yeah. I know that in the Chicagoland, now known Chicagoland area, I'm on Peoria. So I
Mm,
like to, in the spirit of giving back to the land, understanding the land, nature,
mm,
everything's a soul and creature, is just giving thanks to and giving offerings to the original peoples of the
yeah.
land. And that none of us own land.
Mm,
It's we like we're camping. We're like camping over a
yeah.
lifetime on land that is, um,
Yeah.
I don't, because everything is a living being creature, I don't think that we can ever own something. So,
Yeah.
um,
We're passing through. We're on a
yeah,
journey.
yeah.
Yeah, and
It's
it'll
like,
pass
it's
on
like,
just, yeah. It'll continue to pass on.
yeah. And it's like giving thanks for the time that we do spend on this particular piece of land and saying, hey, thanks.
Yeah,
As I start to like getting to gardening and things like that, I like to give back and give offerings to the land and work with Gaia, and just
that's beautiful. Yeah,
such an amazing practice to see like the garden breathing and growing. It's exquisite. Um,
it is.
so Gloria, moves are you excited to be making right now?
Well, I'm very excited about, well, in the last couple of years, I've really shifted my attention to what I'm about. I have so much more clarity on that. And it's really, I really enjoy mentoring people that are about supporting other people, particularly women, because women are natural creators. And I desire to walk alongside people so they become more aware of what they're creating and they can be in choice around that. I struggled with knowing how to make a choice. I was looking outside of myself. Well, to learn how to look within yourself, having accompaniment with that and doing it in a small group of women is a really beautiful experience. So I'm really passionate about creating small containers of 6 women in each cohort, and then having a focus on developing awareness of your own consciousness and using these practices, and then practicing them in relationship with one another. There's exponential benefits of being in relationship with one another. We are blessing one another when we share our truth and when we receive the truth of others, and we develop these reciprocal relationships. And then where we go from there, because my groups, they're from all over the world. So then we each go out into our world and we start to create ripples of that. And so I don't offer a whole lot of them, but what I do is when I do make the offering, I have one coming open. Then I invite people to have a conversation with me so we can explore what's going to be best for them. What are they really seeking? And it's important to slow down enough to recognize what it is so people are in choice of where they're stepping in. And so I'm really excited about those small groups. And I'm also very excited. As you say, it is spring. Everything's turning green or beginning to flower around here. And so to go out and spend more time with my herd and talking with them about what's coming and where it's going. And there are people that are interested in getting to come and have an experience here. And so getting to talk with them and see what would you love to experience and what might that look like, and then to co-create an experience where they come here and they get to explore that in nature. That
Mhm.
also is a lot of fun for me, especially
That's
with the horses.
cool. I've always wanted to, I host, so I too host several containers, and there's something so exquisite about hearing other perspectives or someone's journey or remembering of their
Mhm.
divine soul self, that depending on where you are, when you come together in a group and you do, it's heart soul led, before you know it, other people are mirroring back to you what you may not have been able to articulate.
Yeah.
So the beautiful excavation and unearthing of what you may not even know yet in your direct consciousness is something that is always so. I leave the different cohorts that I lead, and I'm like, wow, every single time, like, look at what we stirred up in this like really beautiful way. To not only bear witness to one another, but to start and to
Mhm.
nurture, foster the trust or the knowing of
Yeah.
something that we may have been suppressing our entire lives. So it's
Well,
pretty,
and there's something in that expression or in receiving the expression. Again, it's that reciprocal relationship
yeah,
where the bedrock of trust is really recognized and it grows.
yeah,
And it's in my experience, it becomes indescribable, but it's
yep,
really felt. You really can feel it. It just,
yeah,
there's a softening to it
yeah.
for me. I do have also something that I like to offer people. I'm not able to work with everyone, and yet because of my experiences in life, I was seeking resources that would meet me where I was. I've created a free online course that gives people a taste of what it would be like to work with me, shares more of my story and experiences. And so I make that available to people. And from that, then there's also these different touch points that I invite them to reach out and just to communicate, because we need more communication,
Mm.
we need more
Cool.
opportunities to connect.
I meant to go look at this. Let's
I'm going to drop this in the chat to you because then that's something you could make available in the description if you are so inclined.
yeah. Mm. So I want to go to a post that you recently made on LinkedIn. Oh, it was actually today.
Mm,
Uh, the I'll be happy when is a lie you've been sold. This contract with life keeps you stuck in performance mode. I'll rest when the launch is done. I'll feel good once I hit that next goal. My life is so good on paper, so why don't I feel happy?
yeah.
Um, this is something I feel like we can all resonate with, and something that I have found. And so for me, in my corporate world, it was always just getting to the next thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how I wanted to feel when I got to the next thing. So I was getting promotions, different ladders up in my world, but then it like fall flat. I'd be like, oh, it's kind of anticlimactic. And I was like, oh wow,
Yeah.
I don't know how I wanted to feel. So okay, here I am. And it's
Hmm.
just kind of like, meh, okay. And it was like on to the next. So yeah, talk to me about this. I'll be happy when. Um, for me, that landed because there is no past, present, or future.
Well,
Spoiler alert. I don't know. Um,
exactly.
and some people are like, what? No, we won't go there right now. But so attaching to a quote unquote future outcome leads to, in my experience, just never ending expectation and disappointment.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Well, well, you're not really living in the now at all. You're living in the future with this expectation of what it's going to look like, and then it's a letdown when you get there because you weren't really feeling where you were to begin with, and you still don't know how to feel. You still don't know how to be instead of do. And that's a big thing, and it's a big imprint or it's a belief system. It's been passed on for generations as a way of, well, that's just the way it is. That's not true. And so it's recognizing that it's not true, even though the masses seem to follow this path. It's possible to follow your own path anyway. And that's true liberation right there.
One of my favorite questions to ask when someone says they can't
Oh,
do something, I'll
yeah.
say, is that true? Like
Yeah.
in the court of law,
Yeah.
of all that is that true? And they're like, whoa, it's not that deep. I'm like, so is it true? And they're
Mm,
like, no, it's not true. I'm like, right. So who told you? So it's just kind of allowing that space because we aren't often in the mainstream presented with the opportunity to question
mm,
societal expectations or norms. So I love being that moment where who says I can't wear a hoodie to like this 5-star Michelin restaurant? Who said? Now
yeah.
that gets into a whole nother thing because if you like to dress up, awesome. But like it's the whole for me, it's like we're moving into a time and space where, especially after Neptune entered Aries at the end of March,
Mm,
um, we're entering into a space and time where we're not only encouraged to ask why, but also getting back to how do you want to exist first? Like, what does that look like before you were told? And it's
mm,
not suggesting that it would behoove us to work together in a way that makes society more efficient. I'm not saying that's not it's just like it gives the flexibility for like a both and, meaning
mhm,
don't fall in line
yeah.
with what's expected of you, but when you're at like when you're in when you're at the bakery and there's like a lot of people there, it would be helpful to get into a line to wait your turn, right?
Yeah.
So it's the to me it's like providing that point of like who said why and what would be helpful for all humanity
Mm,
and not just one type of person. Like how can we reign these like these how can we leverage this infinite limitless opportunity and energy from the cosmos and bring it into our human experience.
mm, mm. Yeah. And well, a big part of that too is for people to have a new experience. A lot of people are in situations or circumstances or environments where they're closed circuits. Things aren't allowed. And so that's why I really love the practice of allowing, of noticing, of being, and also recognizing without making wrong how people conform. It
Yeah.
makes sense. It makes total sense why this happens. And also, spoiler alert, everybody's born into it. It doesn't mean you need to stay there. You can awaken. You
Right.
can recognize your spirit within you. We all have it, even if it's been dulled down and dimmed. It's still there. It's not extinguished.
No, it just might be flickering. And so
Yeah.
find the individuals. So find the individuals that you resonate with
Mhm.
and allow yourself to pull that thread within you. It does not mean that everything has to change overnight. We didn't get
Oh,
here.
no.
So a lot of people, when I find that when you start remembering just how powerful and magical you are, a lot of times we want to like expedite that process. And it's like, oh, wait a second. We can't, it's not, it's not about rushing it. It's just allowing, because, oh, by the way, the same way that it, to your point, the same way it didn't happen in one day, you're not
Mhm.
going to be able to fully remember and integrate in one day. So
We need to have the time for integration,
give yourself that
It-
compassion.
for the body to recalibrate itself.
For me
You know?
personally, I'm working like it's 40 years in contrast to 3. So oftentimes, like when the old stuff comes back in, it's like, okay, welcome. Hi,
I love that.
you get room.
Welcoming. Yeah.
We see you. And show her, like her being the version of myself that's coming in to say, ooh, should we be doing this? Um, Showing her how we would like to show up for the future and
Mhm.
allowing her to weigh in. So there's no suppression, just like how my soul spirit had been suppressed. There's no suppression of like the old or the 40 years of, and
Yeah.
even before that, there's no suppression of her either. Everybody gets space.
Yeah. I like to I like to use my hands. So like the one side, these might be the imprints or the life that I had before I woke up. And they typically tend to have more of the lower frequencies. And then the over here, this is who I truly am, who I was born to be, and who actually was born here in this body, in this vehicle. And when you bring them together, that's where you have wholeness. So we need all of it. It all makes sense. It's all welcome. And yet we've been conditioned to make this wrong
Right.
and
Well,
this
and
right,
yeah,
or this is not allowed. You can only do this a certain way. And that's not true either.
not true. Um, so it's both the best way. The first thing that I will say to someone new entering my orbit is start to pay really close attention to your thoughts and your words,
Oh, yeah.
because it's likely that you find, whether you want to call them blockers or barriers or like limitations, often if you just listen to what you're saying or thinking, you find them right away. And those are spells. Like we're and so like if we're thinking and saying those things, it's going to be hard for a source, creator, universe to like high five us back with that energetic match if we're constantly saying more of what
Oh,
we
yeah.
aren't able to do or feel. So that's the first step, if anyone's wondering, is like start paying really close attention to your thoughts and words. And without judgment. I'm going to say it
Mhm.
again, without judgment. Don't make that wrong. The same way where on a systemic level, finding your own way of activism without making anyone wrong. So
Mhm.
standing up and reverberating and creating the existence that we all deserve without making anyone wrong is the new way. And by virtue of that, all that doesn't fall in alignment with that existence we all deserve will fall away. And it's not
Mm,
ours to dictate how, when, and how, why, and where, and when.
mm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the first step is paying attention,
Yeah.
learning how to even pay attention to notice. What do you tell us? I remember taking one of the first opportunities where I was asked that question. I then noticed what I just told myself, and my pattern was to fall into shame.
Mhm.
And so to have a lot of compassion for that, and yet to recognize where that came from, it wasn't mine.
Yeah, wasn't mine. We have my clients are like, not me, not mine. That's what we say. Um,
Oh,
so wow, as we start to wind down, Gloria,
yeah.
what would you say to people that are brand new to energy work, who
Mm,
are like energy or woo curious,
no.
and also those that are like, absolutely not?
Mm.
So the full spectrum.
Well, I remember working with people and inviting them into play, and I'm too old to play. It's the same kind of an idea. Well, do you remember when you were little how you used to play? When we can start to activate our imagination, anything's possible. And so if just to be open just for one moment, and you can go back to not doing it if you want, it's okay. It's just being, are you open to just be curious enough to give it one moment of even just maybe even remembering what it was like to pet a kitten. I mean, just some kind of a sensory experience that can start to allow your body to remember what it was like to have pleasure, even. So, those to just keep it simple, holding a cup of tea and it's warm on a cold day. Any of those kinds of sensory experiences will help to your body to tune back into your truth. Hmm.
Um, where can we find you and support your work?
Well, the the free course that I told you about, that would be at course.glorialybecker.com. And I'm in the process of getting my website finished up. I took everything down, putting it back up. So glorialybeckercoaching.com is where you can find me right now with those. And if you go to the course, you can sign up for my newsletter, and then you'll know about what new things are going to be popping or ways that you can just reach out and have a chat with me, because I welcome that.
Awesome. And to find me, go to unlockthemagic.org. Follow me on Blue Sky, Patreon, LinkedIn, and obviously tune into Women Making Moves. I encourage you to find one episode of the past and give it a listen. Gloria, closing remarks as we wrap up.
I'm just so delighted to have met you, because you bring into my world freshness that I just am very open to. I know it's a different generation, and yet I love how open you are and how you share so freely the wisdom that you've received. And so I'll continue to follow you. Yeah.
Thanks, Gloria.
Thank you.